Hi there, Leo.
Hi there, Eric. Hi. Nice to see you or talk to you again.
Should I say Screen Actors Guild nominee Leonardo Nam? Because
that's right. I think at all times, everyone please refer to me as that? Just always. Thank you.
It'll be like the Sir moniker.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
Sagan, Screen Actors Guild nominee.
I love it. Cool.
It is a proud thing to say, though. I've got to say, I appreciate you saying that because, as a performer, that's someone to be recognized by your peers is like the ultimate. And in any performers, or I think we live in a world where we give people attention via awards, and that has both good and bad. That as a performer, there is that part of you that really does, and unfortunately, in large part, it drives a lot of the work content that we live in. It's just it's a reality, and I'm very grateful to be on the receiving end of that. I've been for a long time not on the receiving end of that, and not considered in that. So it's really nice to have that, and I appreciate that you said that.
Oh, absolutely. I think it gives a lot of visibility too, that is sometimes aligned or very misaligned with entertainment industry and television and film. So I think it's a fantastic thing for audience to see a really broad diversity of people.
Yeah.
Let's go all the way back for you, because I just think your upbringing and your history is so fascinating. You were born in Argentina to Korean parents, and you grew up in Australia, which is, to me, just the geography of that and the cultural broadness of that is incredible, and just something that most people don't get to experience. So how has that shaped how you see not just yourself and your place, but just the world at large and what culture means?
That's a really great question. It's something that as I grew up, I didn't know the gift that I had been given, which was being exposed and being able to live in these other worlds that really shaped part of who I am. And I think the work that I do as an actor and as a performer or as a creator really does stem from that. I don't think you can separate how you grew up from the way in which you perceive or interact with the world. So I was very lucky to be brought up by parents who even though at the time when Korea was definitely a third world country and war ravaged, that they made the decision to embark on a journey to embrace life for a better life for themselves and also for us. So with that comes a very ingrained sense of being humble, because you could be wrong in the idea that because my parents and they left Korea for a better life in Argentina, and it was to some degree a better life. But then after many different changes, but one of which was a Falkland War that happened in Argentina, and also a mixing of family that also had moved to Australia, because I then had an uncle who was Australian. We migrated over there, and then that became a big formative chunk of how I grew up. And I am so grateful again to have these different perspectives, because growing up, it was hard to be the new guy, and to be the new guy that, as you said, you haven't seen or heard of a lot of guys that look like me, that are Asian, that have this kind of a textured and a tapestry of a background. But I used to always joke for the longest time, like saying, "Oh well, you know, you guys have the accent," or you know, in my world, everyone looks like me. And that's to some degree, you know. I definitely grew up in what one would call like an immigrant ghetto of Sidney. There are different kinds and different types, and like they are in any other metropolitan city. And I grew up in a community that was very tight knit because there weren't many of us. And so what that meant for me in moving forward is once I decided that I needed to make the leap and invest in myself, and what that means for me is to really invest in myself, to become an actor, to pave my path for myself. I remember my parents, you know, saying, "What do you mean you're going to be an actor? You know, there are no faces like you on screen. Like, what do you mean?" In the most loving and way they could, I'm sure. But I was determined to make something out of my life, to carve a name and face recognition for this work that I so desperately and wanted to be a part of. And so I'm so grateful again that you brought up being a SAG-nominated actor. You know, there's something that I really wished for as a kid and wanted, and then when I got into the industry, started to realize and recognize how, for better or worse, that is important in at least the trajectory of a performance career, whether you're in front or behind the camera. That it does provide a marker for those to say, "Hey, you know, you're doing well, mate. You know that you are part of this community and part of this industry." So I'm really so grateful. You know, this kid from Argentina, Australia, Korean to be doing this is like, what?
I kind of want to jump off of that comment then from your parents. Who were your early influences and role models then, with, you know, being someone that does not have a lot to look to or didn't? Yeah.
You know, when I first got to the US, growing up, I should say, the big influences for me were Sidney Poitier and Denzel Washington. I remember very clearly watching and Eddie Murphy and watching the rise of their star and their power in Hollywood, meaning that they were starting to guide the direction of the kinds of projects and roles that they included themselves in. There were a mix of both financial and critical acclaim. You know, some more than others, but I really look to them as guiding posts, and so it kind of is something that, you know, as I came to the US, I definitely didn't know any African Americans in Australia or in Argentina growing up, and as I got to know more and more of the community of culture that was here, that wasn't white, and the big dominant players in the industry for me that I could see was the African American community, and I really looked to them to see the ways in which they have proved foundational success in growing their profile to be included, and it is something that could be seen as a sad reality. And I always say when those moments come, you have two choices. First of all, you need to acknowledge that it happened, but secondly, the two choices are you can either get angry, and rightly so, because you matter, you deserve to be seen and heard, or you can get focused. And what I mean by focus is it's connecting with action. And that's why I really revered those actors and performers, because I saw that they did and created their own houses. They started to create their own products, and defied a lot of the expectations that people had. There weren't any leading male African American stars at that time. These were the new guys, and they were defying a lot of the expectations. So I really look to them to find guidance in that. I know that we are in need of having more diverse representatives of the world out there in the movie and TV scene at large. Now with us going into a global market, it no longer only is only just the needs to be considered only in Hollywood or North America. Now it more is a global market, and I am the beneficiary of that. So I'm looking to see at how I call Denzel Big D with my friends. I look to see what Big D, what Sidney Poitier, and what Eddie Murphy, what these other big stars have done to defy expectations, and I really look to them really to see how to build an Asian American star, a global Asian star, and to see how I can have, and this is very important to me, to have longevity in this industry, in this career.
Absolutely. I love Viola Davis said in her Emmy speech, you can't win an Emmy if the opportunities are not there for you, and she was so right about that. And I was looking at your support of the Asian Pacific American Visionaries short film competition, which is great, because that's just kind of one of those, put your money where your mouth is, and it's really great to see you backing that. Can you talk a little bit about that? And then I have a sub question from there.
Sure. First of all, I really applaud and appreciate that a network as large and as revered as HBO is really sticking their neck out and putting their money where their mouth is, which I also think personally is an absolutely brilliant business idea, because you not only are providing a platform for storytellers to encourage them to come out of their creative holes and put something together, but you are also encouraging communities to rally around one another and to rally around underneath this banner of HBO. So what the HBO APA Visionaries Award aims to do is to amplify the voices of those that are underrepresented, and I find myself, that's the purpose that I have in this drive, in this life, and what I can see myself doing now. And that's also similar to what I did also, just as a side note, for everything I've been doing in the press towards Westworld, using, for example, the red carpet that we did for the premiere, to use that as a platform to amplify the voices of those that are underrepresented. I wore a designer called Dzogchen, Dzojchen, which is a Singaporean British designer. And then for another Westworld for the Multicultural Sci-Fi Organization, for the screening there, I wore a guy called Grayscale, which is an African American designer. And so what I loved about being on this ride with HBO and Westworld is that I do have this opportunity to use this platform in a way that I see that can be helpful, just by the sheer fact that I am standing there doing what I have to and need to do. So with the HBO APA Visionaries Award, it asks different filmmakers that are connected to the APA community to tell stories, and it encourages them to write, direct, or be in these shorts, which HBO will then pull down to the final three to then award the winner the Visionary Award, and then the top three finalists, their shorts will be playing on the HBO channels throughout the month of May, which is also the Asian American month. And it is brilliant to see, like, again, HBO backing these filmmakers, because not only do they give them a platform to really work their best, put their best foot forward, but it also opens up the conversation for, and which is what this year's theme is, home. And each year it'll be a different theme, but it's interesting to tap into a community and to ask them, okay, what is home to you? And see what the response is. That is an absolutely brilliant, I think, business move, but also a really, really, really hopeful move for any kind of creator or filmmaker that is in the industry. As you said, Viola Davis said, you can't win an Emmy if the opportunities aren't there. You can't create a show or a movie if the opportunities aren't there to tell your stories. I recently met with a writer, and she's a writer on a very big show, and she told me that, and she's Asian, and she told me that she was so happy to see not only me working on Westworld, but also doing what I'm doing for the APA Visionaries Award, because she was saying, for the longest time, she's only been writing the roles for white men. And she is a 50-year-old Asian lady, has a profound career when you look at what she's done. But you're like, you're right, actually. You have only written that. And she's like, yeah, and I'm really excited that it's going to change. So I'm really grateful to be part of this Visionaries Award, and to be part of Westworld, to be part of this new platform that is out there, and standing front and center. So thank you.
That is awesome. It's I feel like, even though it's, we're way into 2018, we're hitting a lot of firsts, and we're sort of breaking a lot of ground. Love, Simon just came out, and it's the first studio release of a gay coming of age story, which is crazy. Crazy Rich Asians is coming out in August.
Right. Yes, crazy. Exactly.
And that trailer just dropped this morning. If you haven't seen it, it's super, super funny.
Oh, isn't it great?
Oh my God!
I'm super excited for it.
It's awesome. Yeah. So it's great to see the broadening of that, for sure. But I wonder. I think television, just by virtue of how many channels and networks and shows that there are, offers a bit more in terms of that visibility, and you've done quite a bit of television, a lot of film too, but a lot of television. Do you have a preference for one or the other?
Oh, that's a great question. Growing up, I just wanted to be a movie star. That's all I wanted to do. And now I'm really seeing that, to ride this wave of time, this mind trip of time, television is really offering a platform that has been unseen before. And I am really enjoying that the ride of being on a show continuous and having people really excited and rooting for you. That's something that's very different with movies. You have people that are excited for the movie and can be just excited for that one push, and maybe that connected to a period of time. And they're like, when I shot the movie The Perfect Score, there are a lot of people that come up to me that talk to me about that time when they were going through it, and they really enjoyed that movie and what have you. But now being on a show where it's now coming back for a second season, and it comes out weekly, I get people coming up to me all the time that are wishing and hoping for certain storylines and are rooting for it. And that is something really special, because you get an engagement with an audience that is ongoing. It isn't just a one and done situation, and that's something that I'm really learning to really enjoy, because I feel like we are telling stories of people that they want to see and hear in the moment, and continuous, like I was saying. And so I really do enjoy that engagement, that fan engagement, but also being able to tell these stories over a longer period of time. It offers a storyline to breathe. So yeah, and it's it's the first time that I've done a show where I have done a show that has gone into another season and to carry into that, and so it has been thrilling to kind of suit up again and to get back into the saddle and do that. I did it a little bit with Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants, one then going into two, but with Westworld, it's a much larger wave, and it feels great to be surfing that again.
That's a really great point about a television show giving an audience, something to root for and to look forward to for the future. That's a really good point. I'm glad you brought up Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants.
Yeah.
Which for a lot of people is such a great touchstone pair of movies for you.
I love that movie. Yeah,
absolutely. Yes. I mean, I literally just rewatched it again this weekend because I was like, okay, I know I'm going to be interviewing him, but I've seen it, but I just need to watch it again because it's really, really cool. And I was like, oh my God, I love this movie.
It's one of those movies where when it's on, I always watch it because it's so heartwarming.
Oh yeah,
it really is so heartwarming.
I love that it was like 2005, and I love seeing everybody in this and thinking of where they are now, and that's always really kind of fun.
Yeah.
When you kind of can look at somebody at a very early point in their career and then sort of reflect on that. Something that's really interesting about that movie is that your character Brian was written as a blonde-haired, blue-eyed guy, which you are not.
Mm-hmm.
And
no, I'm not.
it was such a rare case of flipping that script when many times it's happened in the reverse. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. Again, great. Thank you, Eric. You're the best. I really appreciate you taking the time to really look at that and through that lens, and one of the big things that I believe everyone needs to have are mentors, and because of what people do. And one of the big mentors that I have, one of the big people that I need to always refer to is Debra Martin Chase. She is a producer. She produced Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants. She has always been a pioneer in this industry, and to be a woman and producing on this level, to be African American and a woman and producing on this level, like, she is someone that I look at and think, okay, she defies it all, and the classiest and most loveliest lady around. And props go to her and to the director Ken Kwapis, who also directed me, and He's Just Not That Into You. And
yes,
the idea that I originally went in for the role, and it being blonde-haired, blue-eyed, and the fact that they decided to go with me, I am forever grateful. Debra Martin Chase saw that I had something and really backed me. She saw me in The Perfect Score, and then she saw me in the auditions that I did, and really went to bat for me. And then as Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants 2, that sequel was going to be made, I know that there was issue, and there always are issues in regards to scheduling, and now suddenly, as you were saying, some of the actors in the first one, they went off to do other things, and were in different times in their career, and so there was lots of talk of, oh, well, are they going to replace them? Are they, that kind of stuff was happening. And that kind of stuff was happening throughout the whole cast. Mm-hmm. So one of the conversations that I had was yay, they're thinking about, replacing, or they're talking about that. And they said to me, they're not sure that Middle America is going to be able to fall in love with an Asian guy. But there were talks of replacing me. And I was like, what? Are you kidding me? So what I did then is that it was going to be, this is still early in the pre-production. So then what I did is, then I hit the gym. I'm not going to lie. I went all out. I already was, healthy and, looked good and what have you. But that took me to another level. It made me realize, okay. Let's if they're going to do this, if that's already in the cards, I'm going to do everything I can, because they already know that I can act. But now, in regards to what I look, see if I can find a place of transformation. And I found that if I focused on, getting super fit, because I knew there was the big scene where, we have sex, and, it was kind of, for me, the first time I'd seen that they had an Asian guy having sex on screen in a studio film. And so that's what I did. So then I worked out like crazy. I remember going into an office later on saying they're going to replace, we were the same person that said they were going to replace me, or that idea was up in the air. And I took my shirt off and I said, I'd fuck this.
How can you say no after that?
Yeah, I just was like, that's it, and I was like ripped. I was like ready to go, and I thought, yeah, this is my go at it. And needless to say, it was. I did
exactly. Now that's putting yourself out there.
That really was, yes. And that's what happened, and I look back at that and I go, oh God, Leo, what are you doing? But at the same time, I look back and I'm really glad I showed up for myself and did it. Yes, it was dramatic. I'm an actor, I'd fuck this.
No, that's a really good point of really showing up for yourself. I think that's a great way to put it too, because sometimes you won't always have that a person going to bat for you. So if you don't for yourself, that's why would anybody else?
Exactly. Exactly. If not you, then who? And so, just as a beautiful moment for me happened when I remember there were, I received fan mail, and, because it was a very strong community of readers that really loved that book, which is, of course, why they made it into a movie. And I remember that there was a girl, this letter, I still remember it, and it was like a young girl, I think she was probably around 12 or 13, thereabouts, and she was from the East Coast, from New Jersey, and she wrote me this letter, and it was rather scathing, and, borderline was, if taken in the wrong lens, racist. And it was, what am I going to do? It just came one way as a fan letter, and was like, okay, I'm not a fan of the book. However, this was a beautiful moment for me. I remember that same girl wrote back, and because the first one was before the movie was released, and the same girl wrote back, and she said, I saw the movie, and you are great as Brian McBrian, and I am sorry that I thought that he could only be the way that I saw him in my mind, and that you brought something else. And I really appreciate that. It was a young girl, and I remember thinking, oh God, I'm gonna have to break her heart this time. And it was so wonderful. It really warmed my heart that really what happened is that her heart expanded, her eyes expanded. She started to see and started to embrace what they were doing and what I did, and I think we could be friends now.
Yeah, exactly. That's such a great anecdote to the importance of visibility and representation. And it's not just to see yourself on screen, but it's also to see other people in a way that maybe you have not before. That's always kind of something I try and pull from media myself too.
It really is important. I only have been on the side of like, hey, I'm trying to get the job and what have you. And then every now and then someone will come up to me and say, oh, because I saw your face on the poster of The Perfect Score, did I believe that I could become an actor?
Absolutely.
And one person that's completely shocked me when this happened was there's an actor called Justin Chon who directed a profound movie called juuust, but he's also on the ABC show Deception. And I remember when I first kind of got to know him, he had said to me, it's because I saw your face on a poster he grew up in Irvine, that it made me realize, oh my God. First he was like, what is this face doing on this poster? And then it made him realize that he could be an actor. And it is because he saw that and made the connection that he now is now doing amazing things in this industry, regardless of the idea that he thought, because he had a face that looks Asian or didn't look like, at the moment, those movie stars, that he didn't feel like he could. So that really makes me think, okay, in moments like that, like, goes, all right, Leo, you're doing all right.
Exactly. Let's talk a little bit of Westworld.
Yeah.
It just second season just debuted last night. And I loved it. I'm super excited. Obviously I can't say so. Tell me what's going to happen in the season, because I'm sure that's just all nice and privileged information. But I'm curious about a lot of things, and maybe instead of just like what's happening in season 2, just thinking about your role in season 1 as Felix, which was really for all intents and purposes the hero role, because you help free Maeve, and she has this kind of rebirth. And I sort of looked at it as almost a parent-child relationship, where you were really giving her life. And I'm not even sure where I'm going with that. I just
but no. I mean, I agree with you. I think that that is something that we did see in season 1, and it was so beautiful to work with Tandy to carve out and create that character and that dynamic, which is the most important thing, I think, in working with someone on a show or in a movie. It's the dynamic in which you create a scene together, because it can be written a certain way, but it's the manner in which the nuance shifts that happen within the scene. And I'm so glad that you see that role of hero, because that is something that I think continues in season 2, and that's is the one of the big things and themes that happen for Felix is freedom and this idea of free will, which is an overarching thing that really does play out in season 2. In season 1, it really was kind of like an awakening, and as you said, Maeve has a rebirth in a way, and so she has an awakening, and I am privy and part of that. And as you said, there are elements, and that's so glad you brought that out, of the parent-child relationship, even though it's played out in both looking like adults, but me being the parent and then giving her the ability and watching her rise and be the best that she can be, really believing in her. And so the idea in season 2 is that there really is more of that hero. You're going to see a side of Felix that is different, and part of that is the hero's journey. You see him grow from being kind of like could be seen as timid. I'd say cautious. I'd say smart. To not be killed.
That would be good, because there are not a lot of survivors right now.
No, there are not. So, he's got something, screwed right in his head.
Yes.
And so in season 2, that really kind of journey does go further, and you see the idea and the theme of freedom within in him, and I think that's also tied a lot to with the bird scene in season 1, the idea of free will, of freedom, of taking off. And so then in this season, you're going to see him grow, and another side kind of start to gallop forward, so to speak.
That's good. I'm
as much as I can say.
Yes. Oh no. I know that. I'm anxious to see more Felix, as I'm sure everybody else is too.
I'm excited. Yes, I hope so.
Yeah, very much. Wow. I guess we're almost at 40 minutes. I don't want to take too much more of your time, but sure. Let me ask. Maybe it's not too quick of a question. There's with things like Westworld, which is science fiction and fantasy, and like Handmaid's Tale, which is semi-dystopian. A lot of shows like this really sort of, even though they exist in a different reality, have a lot to say about current state of things. What do you think Westworld says about the world right now?
What I love about working with prolific artists, and that being from the top down, working with Jonah Nolan and Lisa Joy, the creators of the show, and by virtue working with J.J. Abrams, with working with the other writers on staff and across the board, is that they talk about issues and that are important to the world right now. And what our show does is that it offers a spotlight and it onto certain themes and issues that are happening now. So what Westworld does is that it makes you talk about these things. One of the things that people were talking about in the last season were like, well, we've never seen female characters do this, and to be the leads of shows like this. And when you're watching it, like, yeah, but this is such a great show. But then you take a moment back and you go, well, hang on a minute. Why haven't we seen females take leading roles like this? Why haven't we seen people that have been underrepresented taking leading roles in this? Do they not believe that people have heart for these kinds of roles or these kinds of actors? And I think you're going to realize that people do. I hope. I mean, it sounds like people are really latching onto and wanting Westworld to succeed, and it does do that. It brings it front and center. And one of the things that you will see is you see these other worlds that are going to be opened up in in Westworld as the season unfolds, and I think people are going to be absolutely thrilled. But it does give moments to say, to prove that hey, they can do it and are doing it in a fabulous and superb way. You know, these creators make superb entertainment. That's what I keep calling it. And I think people are going to be excited, and this is kind of going to be a first entryway into seeing that that the representation and diversity can be seen and have a longevity in a show, and people really kind of rally around that, because I feel like there's a thirst for that. I think that's one thing that Westworld is going to also show. But also the brilliance of being on a show like this with these creators is, I remember when we were filming, there were certain things in season 1 that I was like, whoa, this is some big ass thing, like beautiful and prolific, and it was so wonderful to see it play out like a beautiful music piece. It's just kind of being, played out and scrolled out. In season 2, that continues on, and I remember there was times when we were filming in season 2 that we were like, there's certain items and things that we're talking about that all of us were kind of like, why are we talking about this? This is so interesting. Like, okay, I mean, we could possibly see it happening, but we were like, oh, that's what the creators wanted to talk about through the perspective of all these characters they've built up until this point. And I thought, okay. Then cut to now in the lead up to, especially in this year, in the last 2 months, we have all been getting together, for press and what have you, but we're also recognizing that, oh my God, did you see what happened in the news? Did you see what happened? And it's exactly like that. But the themes that they're talking about, we did in Westworld season 2. It is insane. It's so crazy to think that the creators knew that this stuff was coming in a way. And so, without getting into too much of the specifics, and you guys will have to keep watching, there are times that you're like, oh, wow. Like, I mean, one of the big things we can talk about is like AI and the manner in which AI has really become and folded into so much of our lives. Westworld is one extreme way, but it definitely, I think, brought forward the conversation of AI to many people, and how we interact with it. There are big themes that happen, and in season 2 that you go, oh wow, that is happening now. And I think that's the beauty of the show. It really taps into something in the zeitgeist that's happening.
That's really exciting to hear.
Yeah, it's really exciting to be in it and see it happen. I mean, I'm telling you, we did this roundtable talk on Sunday, just before the premiere, and we all got together and we're all like, what? Did you read this? Oh, what? We shot that in that episode. What? Like that. It was great. So, it was Evan, Jeffrey, it was Tandy, it was we had all of us together, and I was moderating or hosting a talk back for the show, and which you will be able to see in the extras when the DVD or the digital download comes out at the end of the season. So you're going to see us talk about the season, so which will be exciting, I think, for big fans. Yeah.
All right. Well, Leo, thank you so much for chatting with me. I just realized I do have to run and go pick up my son. Oh my God! I don't want to forget. I would have forgotten him, which would have been really bad.